Yo, what is up? This is RizzyPOW, and I'm here for the Week 11 recaps for the MPLs. We had a lot of really intense matches this week, and I am excited to get into this, so let's get into it. Okay, first off, we're going to have the Miami Dolphins up against the Anaheim Alterias, and overall, the Miami Dolphins were able to really hold the momentum for the majority of the match. Ash played very well this match. In the first couple of turns, he set up both of his screens and stealth rocks with his Uxie, and that was very important for this match just because it allowed his other Pokemon not to take as much damage. You know, later in the match, Mystic actually ran Earthquake on his Venusaur, and it only did about, I don't remember how much it did to his Bisharp, but his Bisharp was able to live it, and actually Ash's Bisharp carries Psycho Cut, so was able to one-shot the Venusaur, and that was actually really good preparation from Ash because he knew that Venusaur was coming, because he knew that Mystic was probably going to want to take advantage of the Sun from Ash's Charizard Y, and he actually didn't even bring Megazard Y just because he did not want that chlorophyll boosting, that chlorophyll to boost Mega Venusaur's speed. Not Mega Venusaur, normal Venusaur's speed. And in the first couple of turns, I guess like first 7, I think, the Landorus Eye from Ash was actually able to take out the Empoleon from the Alterias, and the Alterias actually ran Choco Berry on their Empoleon for the Landorus. I'm pretty sure it's mostly for the Landorus. Mystic's team really has a really huge ground weakness, so it kind of makes sense that he did that, but in the end, he was also paralyzed and he ended up getting some para hacks, and if Mystic actually carried Ice Beam, he could have probably actually taken out Ash's Landorus right over there during the beginning of the match, but in the end, he was not able to do that, and Ash actually was able to just take out that Defogger really early in the match, which allowed Ash's Stealth Rocks to stay and really weaken Mystic's Megazard X. Because as it switched in, it took 50%, and it actually came in on a Dazzling Gleam from Ash's Togekiss, and it was pretty much not able to do anything, that Megazard X, which was unfortunate for Mystic. But that Stealth Rocks really hurt him a lot this match, and his Defogger was destroyed early in the match. So that's going to be it. The Dolphins were able to beat Mystic this match, the Anaheim Alterias, in a 5-0 victory. Alright, now we have the Equity Gengar is up against the Houston Axios, and this is actually a really cool match just because it was one of the only MPL matches that people were actually able to watch live. I think me, Ash, some other people from the MPL were actually able to watch it live, and it was pretty crazy because Slacks actually had just gone back from vacation from Jamaica, and he'd actually not prepared too well for this match, and the Equity Gengars, they've only snagged one win throughout the entire season so far, but they have started to prepare quite a bit, and their preparing definitely did show off this match. The Equity Gengars were able to defeat the Houston Axios in a 5-0, which was pretty crazy. They ran 2 Scarfers, being Manaphy and Jirachi, and Jirachi pretty much was able to clean up after his team was weakened quite a bit. Even though Slacks was able to set up a Dragon Dance with his Haxorus, the Scarf Jirachi with Draco Meteor was able to take it out. That is pretty insane, to be honest. Just overall, Dan prepared a lot more for this match. You know, he had ran those 2 Scarfers, which was really important. His only Pokemon that ended up going down was that Scarf Manaphy, and the Scarf Manaphy was alright. It got some nice knockoffs off, and also Selectivire was able to put in a ton of work, KOing his Rotom Wash. And also another thing that was really good on Dan's team was his Goodra, able to take the hits from the Thundurus, and it had Sludge Wave to hurt Thundurus a lot, as well as in case Slacks decided to switch out into his Whimsicott. So Dan played pretty well. He ended up winning in a 5-0. Unfortunately, Slacks, he did not. This hurt him quite a bit, but there's always next week. So that is going to be it for this battle. Alright, next we have the Phoenix and Flores against the Motor City Moltres. Now remember, I am actually the coach of the Phoenix and Flores, so most of this battle is actually going to be from my perspective just because it is a little easier, and it's I already have my thoughts and stuff like that about the battle. So I brought a really bulky team up against Cypher this week. And the reason because of that is because if I try to go offensive against Cypher, I would actually get wrecked by his Talonflame. Like, I only had like 3 offensive Pokemon: Mamoswine, Blaziken, and Serperior. I guess you could count Scrafty, like a D-Dance Scrafty could be offensive, but to be honest, they all got destroyed by Cypher's Talonflame. So I had to go with a bulky, really bulky team this week. And you know, my whole draft is really bulky, so it's not too difficult to do that. I had an answer to pretty much every one of Cypher's Pokemon. Only real things I did not have an answer to was potentially a Life Orb Analytics Starmie could really mess me up, and what else could mess me up? A mixed Nidoking could have also hurt me quite a bit, but in the end, I was actually able to do really well against Cypher. I was able to wall a lot of his Pokemon. I brought Chansey, which walled a lot of his Pokemon. He didn't end up bringing a mixed Nidoking. He only brought a specially attacking Nidoking, and Chansey was able to wall it to no end, as well with Porygon Z and some other Pokemon. I also brought Fortress for his Beedrill, and Fortress is actually able to one-shot Beedrill with the Gyro Ball in the match. And what else? My only 2 offensive Pokemon actually did not do much in this battle. Blaziken ended up taking out the Conkeldurr with a quick attack, and my other offensive Pokemon, AV Mamoswine, actually did not do much in this battle at all. I just never had the chance to actually come out and do much work, even though Ice Sharp priority was really good against Cypher's team. So the Phoenix Sunflowers were actually able to take the 6-0 victory, which actually puts them in range of getting into the playoffs if they play well for the rest of the season. Now we have the Columbus Blue Stripes going up against the San Francisco 49tails. And this is actually a really interesting match just because Baizer actually for the first time brought a Trick Room team up against IPA this week. And it actually performed really well. Baizer's offensive Slowking actually put in a ton of work in this match. It was actually able to take out a couple of Pokemon on IPA's team, especially one of the most important ones are being the Victini. Victini was a huge threat to Baizer in this match, and taking it out really early was really good for Baizer. Getting the Trick Room up actually forced, he just got a lot of momentum whenever he got the Trick Room up, because Iba did not really have too many switch-ins to his Trick Room Pokemon, especially being like Slowking and Glade. He did not have many switch-ins to those, so Baizer really was able to pressure Ipa in this way. Unfortunately, Ipa did get a little bit of hacks. You know, one of the ones that really did matter was the Ironhead flinch with his Garchomp onto the Diancie. And unfortunately, at that time, I was not able to set up a Trick Room, so that was really bad for the Baizer. And the only reason that Ipa won, in my opinion, was because Baizer ended up kind of running out of Trick Room turns, and if Baizer had gotten another Trick Room up, to be honest, I really think that he could have taken this game. He just has so much offensive power with, you know, Scizor, Glade, and Slowking. Even Roserade putting a ton of pressure on the Ipa's team. And getting up Rocks earlier in the game really helped him a lot. Rocks did not hurt Baizer's team too much either, so it wasn't even that big of a deal that Ipa got them up pretty early. So yeah, unfortunately though, there was a little bit of hacks, and Ipa was actually able to take the victory, which was good for Ipa, of course, in a 1-0. Next up, we have the Sacramento Kingdras up against the Jacksonville Gardevoirs, and the Sacramento Kingdras are actually able to get another win this week in a close 1-0, and Eric really had a lot of the momentum for a lot of the game. He brought some really crazy threats to Greg's team, such as the Noivern Manectric Machamp core really worked well for him this week, especially for Noivern, that Specs Noivern, and that AV Machamp. Greg did not have much switch-ins for it. I mean, he did have the Celebi, which could hurt wall the Machamp to some degree. I mean, Machamp gets knockoff, and a Dynamic Punch would be kind of bad for it because it would get confused and such like that. So in the end, he did not have too many switch-ins for Machamp, so that was pretty unfortunate. Dynamic Punches, he was just able to fire off them and kind of wreck Greg's team. Another thing that was pretty important was when Eric actually decided to sack off his Vaporeon to get a Wish passed on into his Manectric. In the end, I think Vaporeon was really important for Eric's team. It walled a lot of his Pokemon, and it could have gotten some Toxic off. Again, I don't know exactly what Eric ran on it, but if he did run Toxic, that could have been pretty good. Also, on Greg's team, Greg knew his win condition. Meloetta really could run through Eric's team, and one of the things that it could not really do much to was the Vaporeon. It did not do very much to the Hyper Voice, but to everything else, it could have just destroyed with it. In the end, Eric was actually able to take it out, and he did take out that Noivern. Ended up taking out Greg's Mandibuzz, and that was very important. Celebi also walled a lot of Eric's team, but in the end, Eric was able to get the 1-0 with sweeping with Machamp and Gliscor. Next up, we have the Elise Rhyhorns going up against the Dallas Saravias, and this was actually a very important match just because the outcome was that Trip defeated Jordy in a 6-0, and this was pretty important because Jordy was ranked #1 in the league. He had such a high differential, and he had a lot of things going for him, but the 6-0 kind of lowered him a bit. He still is a very threatening team. He might still have the highest differential. I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, it was really important. A couple of things on Trip's team that allow him to have the 6-0 sweep was, Specs Gardevoir, and he had ran a Snorlax, but Specs Gardevoir did quite a bit of work, but the main thing that did help Trip this week was his Thundurus T. Now, I know Jordy said that he did not actually prepare too much for Thundurus T, and that was actually a really big mistake because Thundurus T was able to set up an Agility and then another Nasty Plot on Jordy's Mega Sableye, and that was pretty crazy because it allowed Trip to just 6-0 him with that Thundurus T as long as he landed a couple Focus Blasts, and he did. So the Dallas Saravias were able to take a 6-0 victory up against the Leeds Rhyhorns this week. Now, the last match is going to be the Las Vegas Victinis up against the Washington Shedskins. And the Las Vegas Victinis really pulled through this match. They got a really close game. The LaxLime was actually able to win this game in a really close 1-0. And Lax actually decided to bring a Screens Cresselia, and that actually proved to be his demise because Good Guy Ghastly brought a Scarf Gothitelle. He just switched into it, tricked the Choice Scarf onto the Gothitelle, and then proceeded to set up 6 Calm Minds. And after that, he tricked the Choice Scarf back onto him so he could start sweeping. But his only offensive move was Psychic, unfortunately, so he wasn't actually able to completely sweep. He took out the Crest because Crest cannot really do much to a +6 Gothitelle, and he went out into his Latias, and Latias was actually a support Latias and ran Thunder Wave for the Gothitelle, so even though he was Scarfed, he was not very fast. He was not able to outspeed in the end, and I'm pretty sure he was able to revenge kill it with a Scarf Emboar. 3G's Kyurem Black was actually able to do a ton of work. It took out a couple of mons, got a ton of damage off, but one of the most important Pokemon that Good Guy Ghastly brought this week was that Scarf Weavile. I was able to take out the Keldeo, and then after that, Lax's Scarf Landorus T came in, and he actually got a crit knockoff on that, which really mattered because it left Lax with one last Pokemon, being his Magnezone. So Magnezone took a lot of damage from a knockoff, but was able to knock out Weavile, and then Good Guy Ghastly brought in his last Pokemon, which was his Crobat, and he actually had the berry to weaken an electric attack, but in the end, he was not able to live one. If he did live that hit for a Thunderbolt from a Magnezone, probably Analytic too, so maybe that might have been one of the reasons he didn't live, but if he did, he would have probably gotten another Heat Wave off, and he would have most likely won that game, but that was also because of the crit that he got on the Scarf Landorus T with his Scarf Weavile. So in the end, Lax, the Washington Shedskins, were able to defeat the Las Vegas Victinis in a close 1-0. So this has been week 11 of the MPL. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap, and I will see you guys next week. Remember to hit that like button, and I am out. Peace.